should web designers know how to code? This is a reasonable question, and if you ask a group of seasoned professionals, print designers and web designers, you get a room full of them together and you ask them this question, well, that room is going to part like the Red Sea, and you're going to have folks on either side arguing vehemently for their particular opinion. You're going to have folks like Elliot J. Stocks, a designer in the UK, who said this in 2010, honestly, I'm shocked that in 2010 I'm still coming across, quote, web designers who can't code their own designs. No excuse. All right, this is a common and valid point, and what Elliot J. Stocks is saying here, a little bit snarkily, but what he's saying is that the craft of web design involves code. It involves HTML and CSS. That's the stuff that websites are made of. And if you're designing websites and you can't work in that stuff, then you're not as good a web designer. That's what he's saying here. But there are valid counterpoints, like this one from Jennifer Tidwell, the author of a fantastic book called Designing Interfaces. She says, it takes years to learn it well. She's talking about code here. It takes years to learn code well. And this is what a lot of good software engineers do for 50-plus hours per week. Hey, designer, can you afford to invest those years? That's also a totally valid point. You are a web designer or a print designer. You're a designer, is what I mean to say. You're a visual communicator. That's your job. You are not this person. You're not a coder. That's not what you want to do. You want to communicate visually. Trying to fit these two personality types into one person is like trying to combine a sports car and a pickup truck. It just doesn't work. So the answer to should web designers know how to code, it's a complex answer, but honestly, and the surprising thing may be, that the answer is not going to be decided by you or me. It's going to be decided by your next hiring manager, the person who gives you your next job. And increasingly, hiring managers are saying things like this. A designer who doesn't code, a web designer who doesn't code, is like a print designer who doesn't understand bleed, creep, halftones, trapping, and paper finishes. For those of you who aren't print designers, they're talking here about prepress. They're talking about a print designer needing to understand the craft of what happens when ink hits paper. And if they don't understand that, then they're limited in their skills, ability, and knowledge as a print designer. And I think this is an apt analogy, that for prepress is a core skill of a seasoned, experienced print designer. And in the same way, code, meaning HTML and CSS, is a lot like prepress. Knowing how things appear on press is important. But let me emphasize this. If you're a print designer and you know prepress, you're not a press operator. You don't know everything about how things work on press. These two jobs are specific and distinct jobs. The overlap is in prepress. Well, the same thing is true in web design. These two jobs, web designer and web developer, are two specific, distinct jobs, and don't let anybody tell you differently. However, there is overlap, and the overlap, like prepress, in web design is HTML and CSS. And it's not everything having to do with HTML and CSS, but it's some things. That's what this class is about and what this class is for, is that overlap.